Well, multiple reports have now confirmed that former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who organized an orchestrated effort to squeeze Joe Biden out of the presidential office, has now officially dropped out. But in a recent 60-minute interview, Pelosi was asked point blank, "What did you tell the president to persuade him to step aside?" She refused to answer the question. We all know that it's now blackmail. She, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, they all tag teamed in order to blackmail, threaten, coerce the sitting president of the United States to step down. Now, Pelosi and other Democrat elites believe Joe Biden is unfit to run the country at age 81. I think we all agree on that. However, Nancy Pelosi's 84. She's even older. So why isn't she dropping out? Why isn't she moving on? I'm going to bring on my friend Ross Gibbons to help me answer that. Ross is a 20-year veteran of the stock market, a former vice president of JP Morgan Chase, and a leading expert when it comes to insider trading. Ross, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Stephen, my pleasure.
So, wow, I want to get into this Nancy Pelosi thing because it is so obvious that there was a coup against the president of the United States. And now they're installing Kamala Harris as if she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But not everybody agrees on that. Let me run a clip and then I want to react with you on this.
Okay.
This is, most people don't know the ins and outs of an election and sort of, what's going on behind the scenes, but they know how much ground beef costs them, eggs cost them, bread costs, and they are sick of it. Kamala Harris is distancing herself from all of it. You say that the vice president owns President Biden's economy and she'll keep it going. Explain.
Well, as we saw from the debate, President Biden has not been running things, for the past, who knows what it's months or years. So it could only have been the vice president who was in charge. And let's go back. The Vice President Harris was the deciding vote for the American Rescue Plan and the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yes, that's right.
So she owns those. They would not have passed. It was 50-50. She broke the tie.
Yes, she did.
Those caused the great inflation. She was the border czar. That immigration. So, I've talked about interest rates, inflation, and immigration are the things killing working class America. Tell me which one of those she doesn't own.
Yeah, well, she's...
Okay. The guy brings up a really good point. Like, she was the deciding vote for the nearly $6 trillion the Biden administration spent, which made everything more expensive. Like, if you're listening to this video, your life is more expensive because of Kamala Harris. The border situation, your life is more expensive because they are giving thousands and thousands of dollars every single month to illegals, more than veterans, more than seniors, and they're out spending it. So more money chasing fewer goods. What are your thoughts on that interview?
Well, you're 100% right. And it's the craziest, campaign act they've run. Their whole strategy is just, no, I didn't, he did. I mean, they used to question Biden about the border. He said, as soon as Republicans will stop, holding my hands, they're like, what? What are you even talking about? I mean, I've noted a thing when it comes to these big government bills, whatever the name implies, it does the opposite. If they have to church it up, the Inflation Reduction Act literally created inflation. One thing and one thing only creates inflation. That is printing more money. Okay, putting more money into the economy, more dollars chasing the same amount of goods. That's what creates inflation. It blows my mind that they don't realize this. And you're right, Kamala has nothing. She has no plan. She went from being the most disliked vice president in U.S. history to somehow the golden child in what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? I mean, it's insane. If you go to her website, her campaign site, there's no economic policy whatsoever.
Yeah.
She doesn't know.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah. There's also no American flag on her website. Like, what the heck? You're going to be the president of some no flag country? Anyway, I thought they brought up some brilliant points. I want to go back to this Nancy Pelosi thing that I've been thinking about. Yeah. So she says Joe Biden is unfit to run the country a second term, but then they don't kick him out. And then she is looking at running again, and she's 83, 84. Why is she not in your, as you do your research, why isn't she stepping down?
Because the moment she steps down, she loses access to inside information. And, you know, if you listen to Hawley and some of these other guys, they're finally putting them on blast. Look, Nancy Pelosi, just since 2008, she's made an estimated $140 million trading stocks. And the vast majority of those gains, based on everything I've seen, come from the use of private inside information. So when you think about it, she was the Speaker of the House for 8 years. All right, that is 2 steps removed from the Oval. Something happens to the president and the VP. She is the leader of the free world. That is an incredibly powerful position. And she held it for nearly a decade. Well, that kind of power comes with it access to valuable information. She has used this information to make hundreds of well-timed trades in the stock market to become extremely wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, she's better at trading than Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of our viewers, we've heard the rumors about Pelosi making insider trades. Can you give some specific examples? I mean, what kind of information does she have access to? Because there's no way you get a net worth of over $140 million by just playing the stock market and earning the salary that she earns.
Yeah. Well, look, let's think about it. So she knows which companies will be awarded massive military contracts. So when Lockheed and Raytheon get $10 billion from the federal government, well, their stock soars. She knows about new bills being drafted that are going to have huge impacts on private companies. One of those recently was the CHIPS Act. It gave $50 billion to semiconductor firms like NVIDIA, the goal being to bring semiconductor manufacturing here to the U.S., which I kind of support. Wish she hadn't used my tax dollars, but whatever. But what does she do? Well, before this bill is even introduced, she loads up on NVIDIA stock, on leverage, mind you, and she made millions. I think she made $5 million on that trade. She bought it again in November, cashed out with another $3.7 million. But it's not just one event. I mean, she bought Microsoft 2 weeks before the Army announced a $22 billion contract for augmented reality headsets. She bought options, leveraged stock options on Google in the middle of a House judiciary vote on antitrust regulations for the Silicon Valley monopolies. Shocker, she votes no. It doesn't pass. Google stock soared. That trade netted her $5.5 million. I mean, she bought Tesla right before Biden signed an executive order mandating the whole federal fleet to go electric. Tesla stock went up 30% in 2 weeks. So she has done this over and over and over again, all thanks to her position of power and the information that comes along with it.
Wow. It's kind of mind-blowing to me that this is still going on. I know a lot of Americans are angry about it. I see, Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri, he's trying to put forward this Pelosi bill to stop this. But, you might be one of the only people who's not upset about insider trading in Congress because you guys have made a career out of following their trades and essentially benefiting from the information they benefit from one step removed. I mean, there's nothing illegal about saying, oh, wow, let's piggyback on what this person's doing because they obviously are in the know. And you guys have used that to your advantage and shown other people how to do that. I know some of my viewers, including myself, get these stock tips you send out. And I know that some of them have done extremely well. You sent one out last week, I believe, a stock that I had never heard of that showed insiders heavily buying. It's already up 50%. Yeah. You guys have an upcoming webinar where you're going to be teaching people how to follow this, how to do your own research. When is that?
Yeah, we're going to do that this coming Wednesday. So it's August 14th, 3 o'clock Eastern. Like you said, we're going to show people, kind of pull the curtain back, show them how to do this themselves, show them how to access information. It's free, 100% free event online. Anybody can come. I think you said you'd put a description in the video below this. But yeah, it's going to be this Wednesday at 3 Eastern.
Okay. And I know it's not just Nancy Pelosi, and it's not just Democrats. There's Republicans that are milking information. There's Democrats. There's independents. You guys are also getting information from CEOs, CFOs.
Right.
All of this stuff is public very, very quickly on the executive employees of a company, and a little bit slower on the congressional side. But nonetheless, you guys are able to access that public data. Who else is benefiting from this?
Well, like you said, it is politicians. That's the one that angers the most people because they're living on salaries from our tax dollars and doing this. But you're right. You can piggyback those trades. You can follow Pelosi, some of the others. But you mentioned a great point. The the corporate insiders are even better. You think Pelosi's got good information. Think about when the CEO of these companies or the chief financial officer and the board of directors, they know when they've got a big earnings number coming out. They know when the drug trials are going well. They know they're about to get bought out, and you can follow their trades. It's almost real time. So you can see this stuff within a day, 2 days max, and simply piggyback that information. It's really a simple strategy. Obviously, doing it takes a bit more work, which is why we host these training sessions. But the idea is really clear. Look, is it fair? No. Should Pelosi and her cronies be able to trade on inside information? Absolutely not. Should, the CEO of XYZ Corp be able to load up on his stock before they report record earnings? No, but they're going to do it. So instead of whining, all right, let's level the playing field. Let's follow their trade. So the only silver lining to this is they have to report this stuff. It's public knowledge. So if we see a stock, the one you mentioned the other week was DOUG. It's this little tiny boutique real estate brokerage out of New York. And then suddenly we saw, 4 or 5, board members, CEOs, CFOs, several of these people all buy the stock all at the same time, totally out of nowhere, haven't bought any in years. Well, it looks like they know something. And boom, the stock was up 50% in 2 weeks. So that's what we try to show people how to do. I don't need to beat a dead horse on the political side, but like you said, it's not just Pelosi. I can give you example after example what these guys do. I mean, Pat Fallon, who's a Republican, this guy buys Microsoft stock right before the government announced a huge deal with the Pentagon. Cindy Axne, she's a Democrat, who's trading Wells Fargo stock while sitting on the Financial Services Committee in charge of investigating Wells Fargo, So Blumenauer, this guy's the worst. He was buying up defense company stocks the very day Russia invaded Ukraine. So it's really corrupt. Like I said, the only silver lining and why it doesn't bother me so much is that we can follow this stuff. We can make money alongside them and just kind of level the board a little bit. We use their information for our benefit, basically.
Yeah. That one group that you mentioned, I think it was DOUG.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like if the executive team, the CEO, COO, CMO, CFO, all of a sudden they start buying, it's like, okay, wait a minute. The old phrase, put your money where your mouth is. Like
Bingo.
If somebody's starting to put up and buy millions of shares, something big is coming. And I love that you guys have figured out.
Well, I'll give you another example. This one is but I shared it with you, I think back in January. We did a training event for your people, and I gave them a free stock. We're doing that again for this one, by the way. So everyone who registers, we'll send you all the research on our newest picks. You can see, get the opportunity. But that one was a company called Perspective Therapeutics. It's CATX, the ticker. But basically, it's a little biotech. They make no money, no profits. They're in the middle of drug trials. Drug trials go great, stock's going to soar. Drug trials go bad, it's probably going to zero. Well, suddenly we saw in a 10-day period, the chief financial officer, 3 members of the board, the CEO, the vice president, the chief medical officer, the guy running the drug trials puts almost his entire annual salary into the stock at all-time highs right before they're getting released. We're like, it doesn't take a rocket science. So we bought the stock at 40 cents a share. Steve, it went up 350% over the next 4 months. So they're not all going to do that. I don't want people to think this is a foolproof thing. But when you think about it, the odds that the people running that company are loading the boat with their own money before something terrible comes out are just very low. So it's kind of heads I win, tails I don't lose for the most part.
Yeah. Nobody should ever put all of their money in one thing. I'm sure you guys talk about diversification, but if you can have those occasional pops based off data analytics and movement from real people in the company every day, seeing, wait a minute, something big's coming, or you guys see a sell off and you go, wait a minute, maybe something bad is coming. One thing that you mentioned, and I talk about the military industrial complex all the time, but there's another side of it. That's the congressional complex where, you mentioned Blumenthal loading up on stocks the day that Russia invades Ukraine. Is that guy ever going to want this war to end if his stocks keep going up? I mean, at the end of the day, he's making a lot of money off of this war, and his children and grandchildren aren't at risk. It just seems like war profiteering.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And look, these are the people who set the Pentagon's annual budget, so then to then cash in on these defense industry stocks that you propped up. I mean, look, Congress added $70 billion to the Pentagon's budget just in the last 2 years. And most of that money, as you know very well, is funneled directly to defense contractors, to Palantir, to Lockheed, to Northrop Grumman. And those stocks have soared. I read a report the other day, at least 25 members of Congress sitting on national security committees have simultaneously purchased stock in those very same companies. So it's a little ugly.
Wow, that not only does that seem unethical, but it almost feels like it meets the definition of conspiracy, right? Where people conspire, like, hey, we're all on this same committee. Let's all buy in and let's all vote to pass, 10 billion, 100 billion to this company. I don't know. It makes you, I wish I was a fly on the wall at the congressional lunchroom sometimes, but it seems unethical to me that they're able to do that. Now, the information that you guys share is completely ethical. You're like, this becomes public information. What these CEOs, CFOs, that all has to be reported under SEC laws.
Right.
And I know that's what you guys are going to be sharing. Tell my audience again, when is this training?
So it is this coming Wednesday. So August 14th, 3:00 Eastern. So 2 Central. It's a free event. Anybody can attend. You don't need experience. Most of our members have never traded stock before and they join us. So it's not something that's going to be over your head. And the only catch is the streaming software we use does limit us to 1,000 attendees. And we have filled those up in the past. You've got so many freaking viewers these days. Sometimes we get 1,000 in the first couple of minutes. So I would encourage people to register early. Again, there should be a link below the video. It's name, email. If you put your cell number in, we'll shoot you a text reminder right before. But yeah, we're going to show people how to access this public database where you can see all these insider trades, to show what to look for, what to look out for, ins and outs. I've been doing this since 2017 publicly for our members. Everything tracked to the penny. We've never had a losing year. We didn't lose money in the bear market. We've recommended stocks that have gone up over 1,900%. The one I gave away in January, as I told you, quadrupled in a few months. So I hope people come. I think it's going to be very eye-opening. And like I said, we are giving away the research on our most recent picks. So even if you can't come live, register for the event. We'll shoot it over to you immediately, I think via email, and you can see the depth of our research. We'll give you the name of the stock, who's buying, why we like it, and you can kind of make your own decision.
Yeah, you guys, the report that you send out is very, very detailed, but easy to read and understand. So yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, my since the last training you guys did, my channel has grown by almost 129,000 new people. So I know it will fill up quickly because this information is really, really interesting.
It's crazy what happens when you just get on the internet and tell the truth without a slant. It's crazy when people come to you.
Yeah, no kidding. Like it's kind of weird when you get on and you're like, hey, the former president has been shot. And then you have CNN going, well, maybe he wasn't shot. You have the FBI saying, well, maybe he was hit by a piece of broken glass. It's like, oh my gosh, just tell the truth. The American people are intelligent. They can handle it.
I mean, you have to laugh, but it's really not funny anymore. I mean, it's gotten to a point where this country's getting too far apart to split it down the middle.
Yeah. It would be like, oh, well, yeah, Kamala Harris, she was in charge of the border and also was the deciding vote in these bills that created massive amounts of inflation. But wouldn't you want somebody that has the courage to do something? You know, like they're going to spin it somehow.
Well, I heard the other day she was saying at a speech yesterday, the day before, you know, when I'm president, I'm going to lower prices on day one. And everybody's going, why can't you do it now?
Yes,
you're the vice president. The president can't make it down the hallway. You're clearly running do it now.
Yeah,
you know, it's ridiculous.
If Trump said, "I'll do it now," you'd go, "Dude, you're not even in office, right?"
Yeah.
But day one, yes, okay, I can believe that, right? But she says on day one, but then does nothing now, and people go, "Wait a minute, hold on, I got to pay higher gas, higher food costs, higher rent, higher mortgage, higher interest rates, while I wait for a better president to be in." Like, do it now if you can do it. I think it's a lie. They're obviously dangling a carrot. But I think
it's two things. It's a lie. It's incompetence, and they just don't know. You know, I've never met a Democratic economist or an economist who votes Democrat, and they just don't know. I mean, take someone like Newsom in California. He did something recently where, you know, the home insurance, homeowners insurance is getting too high, so he capped it. He said, you can't raise rates anymore. I'm sure that sounds great, but all the insurance companies just left California. Yeah. So the only ones that are still there are the ones that already had the highest rates. So, you know, you've just made the problem worse. And that's what people like Kamala and Biden, who've never worked in the private sector, who don't know how to run a business, who don't know how to balance a checking account. They're just used to spending our money. And it's, you know, it's not a winning formula.
Yeah. Well, what did Ronald Reagan used to say? The worst words you can hear is, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." They're the problem, not the solution. Well, you guys have a great solution. I appreciate you doing research and keeping my people in the loop on inflation, you know, the stock market, how to continue to succeed. I really appreciate that. I'm going to put that link down below. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thanks, Stephen. You as well.